Dear you, I'm writing to you from a version of yourself who remembers the quiet ache you carried, the ache of believing, deep down, that you were hard to love. It wasn't something you said out loud. It wasn't something you admitted even to yourself, but it lived there, deep in the corners of your heart, shaping the way you move through the world, shaping the way you let people near. I remember how you questioned yourself in ways no one else ever saw. You wondered whether your emotions were too much, whether your quietness made you uninteresting, whether your fears made you inconvenient, whether your needs made you a burden. You looked at the people around you and convinced yourself they were easier to love, lighter, brighter, less complicated, more balanced. You didn't see your own beauty. You didn't see your own softness. You didn't see how deeply you cared, how deeply you tried, how deeply you showed up for others, even when you were hurting. You thought love had to be effortless. You thought you had to be flawless. So every time someone misunderstood you, or drifted away, or grew distant, you blamed yourself. You took it as proof that there was something wrong with you, something unlovable, something too heavy for another heart to carry. There were nights when you lay awake, wondering why relationships felt harder for you than for people around you. You wondered why affection made you nervous, why vulnerability felt dangerous, why letting people in took more courage than it seemed to take others. You thought those feelings made you difficult, but they didn't. They made you human Simone who had been hurt before, someone who learned to protect themselves, someone who loved deeply enough to fear losing love again. You carried so much doubt quietly. You smiled even when you felt insecure. You reassured others even when you needed reassurance yourself. You pretended you were fine even when your heart felt fragile. And because you hid your fears so well, no one realized how heavy they were. I'm writing to you now so you know this. I saw the softness beneath your self-protection. I saw the longing behind your silence. I saw the kindness behind your doubts. And I want you to know nothing about you was ever unlovable. You were simply afraid of being seen too deeply, too clearly, too truthfully. Your past self understands now that the belief, "I am hard to love," didn't come from your truth. It came from your experiences, from the people who didn't know how to hold you gently, from the moments when you opened your heart and weren't met with the softness you needed, from the relationships where your emotional depth was misunderstood, from the times when you loved fully and didn't receive the same in return. Nothing was wrong with your capacity to love. What hurt you were the mismatches, places where your emotional depth was greater than the space others were willing to offer. You thought their inability to meet you meant your feelings were too much. But your feelings were not too much. They were simply given to the wrong places. You began shrinking parts of yourself to be easier to handle, holding back thoughts, softening your needs, quieting your emotions, all to avoid being too much. But every time you hid your true self, you drifted further from the kind of connection your heart deserved. Your past self wants you to know something gentle and grounding. You are not hard to love. You are hard to forget. You are deep, not difficult. You are sensitive, not fragile. You are thoughtful, not burdensome. You love in ways not everyone can understand. With sincerity, with intentionality, with emotional awareness, with quiet devotion. And not everyone is ready for that. You didn't push people away. You simply loved with a level of honesty that some weren't prepared to receive. You didn't scare people. You invited them into emotional depth. They weren't ready to explore. Your heart wasn't the problem. Their readiness was. And that distinction matters. The belief that you are hard to love was never about you. It was about the moments when the love you offered was not met with equal depth. It was about the times you gave too much and received too little. It was about the wounds you never fully healed from. You are not difficult. You are layered. You are not unlovable. You are discerning. You are not too much. You are simply someone who loves with meaning. And people who love with meaning sometimes take longer to find the ones who understand them. Now, I'm speaking to the you who is here today. The you who has carried those old beliefs for far too long. The you who still sometimes wonders whether you are deserving of being loved deeply, gently, consistently. I want you to take a slow breath. Let it soften your shoulders. Let it settle into your chest. Let it make space for a truth you have waited years to hear. You are profoundly lovable. Not because of what you offer, not because of what you fix, not because of how well you perform emotional caretaking, but because of who you are when you are honest, unguarded, and fully yourself. You don't need to shrink to be loved. You don't need to silence your emotions to be wanted. You don't need to pretend you're okay to be accepted. The right people will not be intimidated by your depth. They will not call you too much. They will not make you feel like your feelings are inconveniences. The right people will understand that your softness is a strength. They will meet your vulnerability with safety. They will see your emotional depth as a rare gift. And before those people arrive, you must begin with yourself. You must learn to love the parts of you you once believed were unlovable. You must learn to embrace the emotions you were told to hide. You must learn to speak your truth without apologizing for its weight. You were never hard to love. You were simply waiting for a love that could meet you where you are. A love that speaks your emotional language. A love that doesn't require you to shrink, dim, or break yourself to fit. And that love begins within you. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to fear it. You only have to allow it. Your past self is proud of you for holding on to your softness even when the world tried to convince you it was a flaw. Proud of you for continuing to hope for connection even when you felt undeserving. Proud of you for surviving heartbreaks that made you question your worth. And now, your future self is waiting ready to show you a kind of love that matches your depth, your sincerity, your heart. Take one more gentle breath. Let it remind you that you are enough. Let it remind you that you are worthy. Let it remind you that you have always been lovable. Sincerely, you